The idea is that we are on this hero's journey together. We're all on our individual hero's journey. We're all on a global, collective society hero's journey. And Joseph Campbell said that the goal of life is to make our heartbeat match the beat of the universe. I think that's just beautiful. And he's not saying it's the purpose of our life, although it might be, I can't say. But the goal, wouldn't that be a great goal to match our heartbeat with the knowing and the intelligence of the universal heartbeat? And you may be familiar with Amit Goswami, who talks about quantum physicists are now kind of giving up on the mathematical equations of trying to solve the universe. So they're applying their equations to happiness formulas. I love that. So Amit Goswami is writing formulas for happiness. And what it ends up being is the formula is the more we can get ourselves connected to that earth beat of the universe, the happier we seem to be. So I want to share a story with you because Scalar Heart Connection utilizes the principle of synchronicity. Are you familiar with synchronicity as sort of a term? I'm sure everybody has experienced synchronicity, am I right? It's like Carl Jung said that at some point you recognize synchronicity is happening all day long, that your whole life is just one synchronistic event after another. Mary Lynn and I think she mentioned that last month we went to Maui to do a workshop, and my left brain was sort of thinking, well, I want to make sure, do we have a room set up? Do we have the projector? Do we have all the things? And I was sort of going down my checklist, and I was getting a little nervous and a little anxious. And so just as we were approaching the airport, I wanted to think of something nice and something pleasant to sort of ease my anxiety. And I was saying to Marilyn, I said, we just had this wonderful post on our Facebook page about the Little Prince, something about the heart, and there was this falling star. And I just thought, I just want to tap into that heart energy of that, and we'll just take that to now, and we'll just let whatever happens, happen. And then we both looked up to find the long-term parking sign, and as we looked up, I forgot to say it's 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's pitch dark. We look up, and there's a shooting star. And we're just like, the universe just, winked at us in the biggest way possible. And we went to Maui, and we had the most fabulous time. Things just fell together at the very last second, and it was just wonderful. So we all have synchronicity stories. I could go on and on. I love to actually in workshops go around the room and hear people's synchronicity stories. And the thing I end up asking is, what is the source of synchronicity? Where is it coming from? Who is it that's listening to my thoughts? Who is it that knows I'm worried and that I need a shooting star to make me feel comfortable as I'm going to Maui? Who or what is that? And so, to me, Scalar Heart Connection is a way for us to actually have a dialogue with the source of synchronicity. Wouldn't that be beautiful if we could do that? Because I think the source of synchronicity that knows our thoughts and knows what we need, then wouldn't it be nice if we could just have that conversation directly without having, all these things happen sort of the hard way? So why do I use the word scalar when I'm talking about Scalar Heart Connection? Scalar is a quantum physics term that is a measurement of the waveform. And when we think of waveform, we're thinking about the infinite possibilities, right? It's like the possibility function in quantum physics, that all possibilities are possible. The heart connection part is just that the heart is the bridge between psyche and matter, between the seen and the unseen. And that's actually a very popular phrase from Hafiz or Rumi, I don't remember which, but it's very Sufi to say that the heart is the interface between the seen world and the unseen world. And on the scientific part of it, remember Candace Pert in the early 90s had discovered that these opiate receptor sites in the brain that are like picking up emotions aren't just in the brain, they're all over the body. And that the heart actually contains, these neuropeptides, these neurotransmitter receptor sites that are picking up all these emotions. Now, men generally can identify like 5 emotions. If you ask a man, well, how many emotions are you in touch with? Well, it's this one, the obvious ones, and this and that. And you ask a woman, and she runs out of fingers really, really quickly, right? Well, Candace Pert was saying, there's actually, they had identified 300 different types of neuropeptides. So it's almost like there's a whole world out there that we haven't quite discovered yet. And what was fascinating to me is that the neuropeptides in the heart, in this ganglia that comes from the spinal cord into this nerve ganglia, has all of the receptor sites that the brain has. And these have different emotional receptor sites. These are the different chakras, actually. These chakra centers have these nerve ganglia. And it's because the heart has all of them that the heart knows what every other emotional center is feeling. There's this concept with the Hopi Indians of spirit otter. And spirit otter is that energy that invites us all to jump into the stream of our heart and swim in that stream to the ocean of God's smile. Isn't that beautiful? So I feel like when we jump into heart consciousness, we are on our way to that ocean of God's smile. So I want to talk more about spirit otter, but I just want to introduce you to her. Boy. And so spirit otter talks about the logs that block that stream that is taking us to the ocean of God's smile. And those logs are conflicts in life. So those are our lessons. It's part of the hero's journey that these conflicts and these troubles come up as a way of challenging us to grow. Does that make sense? And so I look at these logs as the things that come up that we can ask our heart to help us through those challenges, because mostly those challenges are coming from our thinking and our analyzing and our judging. And we lose touch with the heart of the matter that can help us go through these issues with compassion. Okay? And so here we are, life is happening to us, we lose our job, we lose our house, we get divorced, we have all these problems, and then we get lost in the anxiety and the worry about it. So issue, obstacle, and action became sort of my mantra. So when people were coming to me with maybe physical issues at that time, I was always looking for, okay, I hear your issue, but I want to know what is the challenge and what is the action. This is about growth. So there has to be the challenge that motivates you to change and to grow. And that's what we have to be willing to do. Okay? And so what happens, so what happens is that we are trained not to have an emotion. So we're trained to be, all powerful and strong and competitive in this world. And so what we do is our whole Facebook personality becomes who we say we are. And it becomes who we think we are, or what we project into the world. And you can't see it, I don't think, because of the glare, but you see this is sort of how we project, but underneath, you see her, sort of the anxiety underneath. And so Scalar Heart Connection helps us to get underneath. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. So it's beyond the field of judging. It's Rumi. Beyond the field of judging right or wrong, there's that field. And we're just going to, I'll just meet you in that field of heart consciousness. So Gurdjieff, are you familiar? Remember Gurdjieff, the founder of the Enneagram? Well, he talked about who we are, our Facebook personality. We've got hundreds of Facebook personalities, right? Every day we try to appeal to somebody else. And he said that we have not just one personality, but we have hundreds of personalities. And Carl Jung also said a similar thing. He said that who we are is a boiling cauldron of contradictions, inhibitions, and affectations. I mean, that's like pretty brutal, isn't it? I mean, I'm just a boiling cauldron of contradictions, but when I think about it, I do contradict myself quite a bit. Gurdjieff said this is the reason why when we decide we're going to go on a diet, what happens after 24 hours? 24 hours later, we've already gone off the diet, right? You're familiar with that? He said the reason that happens is because one of our personalities thought it would be a great idea to go on a diet, but the other 999 personalities had no intention of going on a diet, right? So we have to get all of ourselves aligned to be able to accomplish and achieve what we want in life. So Gurdjieff said there are all those personalities, but then there is our essence. Isn't that beautiful? It's the essence of who we are that we're trying to get to. We have to sort through all these personalities and become the essence of who we really are. And so, I don't know if you know this, but there's a new app out where you can actually get a self-portrait of all those hundreds of personalities. So I was so excited. I downloaded it, and I want to share with you the results. I was a little mortified when I first saw it, but then I had to admit that I recognized most of them, right? And when something happens to me, you just pick something, things happen. I find that one of these or the other will just, rear their head, and then I have to deal with them, right? So I feel like scalar heart connection is a way that we can identify who is the personality that is having the issue or the problem and is acting out in some way because there's some unresolved emotional conflict. Okay? Synchronicity, I opened up talking about synchronicity. I think that synchronicity is working with us to help us evolve, help us to grow. And synchronicity does that by impinging on our otherwise comfortable, happy lives with some type of obstacle or some type of challenge. It can be traumas. Sometimes the worst things happen to be some of the best thing that ever happened to us. And I look at those events as the archetypes. Those are the patterns that we all experience. We all go through the same situations in one form or another. And so if you look at that, Louise Marie von Franz, a colleague of Carl Jung, said, these archetypal patterns, they gang up on us. They don't just happen one at a time. They come in packs, like a pack of wolves. So, when you're having a problem, and you've got one problem, you can pretty much expect there's going to be two more shoes that are going to drop. And that fit in really nicely with my idea that the issue, the obstacle, and the action. So I'm looking at these archetypal dynamics that are working with us to help us grow and help us evolve. And so when you're looking at those personality types and how they have different belief systems, different ideas, if we could get them all together, what we could do is match the frequency of the reality that we want to create. And when we get that frequency 100% with no doubt, with no sabotaging, then the universe will conspire to create that reality with us. We can work together, and we're not doing anything to impinge the universe. It just wants us to grow and to be happy. Now, when I talk about heart consciousness, I brought in a little bit about Candace Pert, so we see that there's actually a physiological connection. The brain and the heart and heart math and the work that they're doing is the science is starting to talk about how it's physically possible. But on the energetic level, the vibration, I want to ask you if you're familiar with the idea that the heart is in resonance with the universe itself. Yes, you are. The universe, I'm going to give away a little bit of the punchline. The American Association of Nurses says that the average human heartbeat is 72 times per minute. 72 times per minute. Now, we're all part of this grand orchestra, so we may not all be 72. We all have our own individual note, our own individual frequency, but as a conglomerate, we human beings have 72 heartbeats per minute. Okay? The sun, Stanford University were able to take the percussion of solar flares that reverberate through the sun and back again. They were able to slow those down to the audible range where we could actually hear what that sounds like. And this is what they came up with. You probably can't hear that. So I'm going to sort of amplify it and smooth it out a little bit. It's that. We are listening to that all day long. The sun is the source of life on this planet. So what is that? It's 144 cycles per second. Now the heartbeat 72 times per minute, which is 4,320 times per hour. And what is the octave, 2 octaves? The third octave above 144 is 432. So we're harmonically related to the vibration and the song of the sun. And I said 72 times per minute, which is also a harmonic of 144. So no matter how you look at it, we are in resonance, in vibration with the very heartbeat of the sun. It's very interesting to me that the diameter of the sun is 864,000 miles, right? There it is, 864. Again, a harmonic of our heart. I want to talk to you or show you a very short clip of cymatics because it's about vibration. And if everything is vibration, then that means that our thoughts are vibrations, our emotions are vibrations, and everything that we create around us is based on the vibration of what we're thinking and what we're believing and what we're feeling. That's from Hans Jenny. Do you remember, or you're familiar with Hans Jenny and his work in cymatics? Cymatics is the study of sound. And he was doing this in like 1917, something like that. This is a vibration that is just a drop of oil with water, like an emulsion, and it's just responding to sound vibration. This is a video from Hans Jenny, and I want you to look at not only the geometry that's created by sound, but as the sound changes, the geometry, that beautiful geometry, just dissipates. It's gone. And then as the next tone comes in, it snaps back into place, but it's something new. So every time we're challenged and we fall out of vibration in our joyful Jessica place, we go into this chaotic place, this chaos of uncertainty, and that's where the mind becomes fearful and all types of things start to happen. That chaos is absolutely essential for that next evolution. You can't get from one geometry to another higher geometry without the chaos in between. Right? It's a scary place, but we have to go through it. And when we see that and understand that, then when things start to come unraveled in our so-called normal life, we'll be like, oh yeah, okay, something is coming, something big is coming. And we can start to look forward to it with joyful anticipation. Into some of the research by Rupert Sheldrake. You may be familiar with him. We all love Rupert Sheldrake. I mean, he was talking about the morphogenic, vibratory resonance field 30 years ago. And it was just like, I got to meet him in person this last summer. It was just like the highlight of my energy career. It was just absolutely fabulous. And Dean Radin, as I mentioned before, with Wally McCrae, we're going to roll them all up together. And I want to talk about, first of all, animals. Animals are connected to that vibration. They are connected to that heartbeat of the universe. And how do we know that? Because they know stuff that we know, but we haven't tapped into it yet. It's like the elephants that were, trying to save people in the tsunami. They knew it was coming before it was there. How did they do that? How did they know that? Rupert Sheldrake is talking about how dogs know when their owners are coming home. When the owner is like out, shopping, 30 miles away, and the moment the owner says, well, it's time to go, the dog runs up to the window and waits for them to come home. So there's this knowing that, if the animals know, we have to be able to know. We have that in us. If we would just get our mind out of the way, we can tap into a completely different picture and paradigm of this world that we live in. Louise Marie von Franz, I mentioned her earlier. She loved to tell this story, which I want to share with you in case you haven't heard it. And that is about the card reader who was in New York, could tell you 2 days in advance a card that was going to be picked out of a deck in Budapest. 2 days in advance. And they were extremely accurate. Now, how does that happen? That's like, you picked a card out of a deck, which is like a random thing to do. So this person knew what card was going to be drawn 2 days in the future. So the knowing that we're talking about is a knowing that goes beyond time and space. We have to be rethinking our whole concept of time, right? We are connected to that. We know what the card reader knows. We know the future. And if you don't believe it, which I'm sure you do because you've read all of Dean Radin's work, this is a story I think Dean Radin tells about the finches. Have you heard this one where they take like 15 finches and they put them in this cage and they wait 15 minutes for them to settle down. And then they have this video monitor right next to the cage, and then at random intervals they turn it on, and it's a video of a snake. Right? It's a really mean thing to do because when these birds see the snake, they all freak out. They just all go into hysterics. What they had learned is that the birds were responding to the video 9 seconds before the video was shown. Right? So one video might be the snake, and another one might just be nothing. But the idea is that 9 seconds before the snake would appear, they were already physiologically, they were already going into hysterics. They knew it was happening before it was happening. So Dean Radin again did research that they're now calling presentiment. And presentiment is the same thing where human beings, when placed before a monitor, a computer screen, and you're showing people random images of happy scenes or very traumatic scenes, human beings their heart is responding physiologically to that horrible image before the image is even being shown. So again, it's telling us, and I feel like I'm belaboring this to the choir, is that our heart knows the future. So I looked at that and I said, here's the presentiment. So it's sentiment, it's the feeling. It's like a hallmark card that the heart is giving you before the event actually happens. And so I started to think, well, why don't I just take some hallmark cards and write down some really nice things to say to my heart the next time I have a problem. Right? I'm having a problem, so I've got these computer monitors. I have this picture or that picture or this picture. Why don't I put like a nice hallmark saying, and on 10 monitors, and ask my heart to show me a number, 1 through 10, which one I need that day. Why wouldn't that work? If my heart knows what's on the screen, even before the screen is there, before my eyeballs see it, I have to be able to ask my own heart to show me what I need. So all I had to do is test it. But what I really needed was a matrix. I needed to be able to say, okay, well, I have all these nice things to say, but it's because my brain is anxious, my brain is mad, I'm having some issue that somebody pushed a trigger button on me, somebody cut me off in traffic. So what are the negative mind-brain condition responses that I'm having? Well, I have a whole bunch of those. I could write those out all day long. So now I have a whole pile of my negative thinking and a small pile of the positive things I should be thinking. How am I possibly going to arrange that so that I can realistically, practically have this conversation with my heart? That was the challenge. So I want to show you, before we take a small break, how this evolved. And it evolved over a 10-year period. Marilyn was saying, I was putting this together and putting that together. Sometimes I'm kind of slow. It took a while. But I want to show you sort of how I approached it. I approached it from the standpoint of number. The heart is beating. It's a vibration. It's a number. Carl Jung said that the archetype of, the number is the archetype of that heart consciousness. What I knew about the heart was that there's this ancient symbol for the heart chakra. It's green. It has 12 petals. It has the Star of David, the 10 tetrahedron symbol in the middle of it. So I looked at that for a long time, many, many months. And then it dawned on me from Buckminster Fuller, who said, the circle, going back to Jung, who said the circle is the perfect symbol for self. And remember, we were trying to get from self to the essence of self. That's the purpose of this whole exercise. Well, Buckminster Fuller said when you look at that circle, there's 360 degrees inside the circle, and there's 360 degrees outside the circle. And when you put the two together, we get 720 degrees, which is the harmonic of the sun, harmonic of the heart. So I'm thinking this circle and these numbers have got to be a really cool way to pull together this matrix. So I have all the pieces, I believe, to the matrix, from the geometry and from the vibration combined. That this is one way that we can look at those three archetypal energies that come out. And it says that whenever we're having an issue or a problem, these dynamics are always there. We're always having the issue, the obstacle, and the action that we need to take. And there is so many different nuances to those energies that we can ask the heart to tell us what are the specific things that we need to know about our negative thinking and about the positive action that we need to take. So, and that issue, obstacle, action moves around. So you have 24 different possibilities. And the quantum healing codes themselves create archetypal patterns, those 6 of them. And 6 times 24 is 144 different archetypal patterns that are possible. So all of that doesn't mean anything unless we actually see it and experience it for ourselves. So far I've just been talking. Okay? So I don't want to talk anymore. I want you to listen now and experience your heart So what I'd like to do is get right to the place where someone has an issue that they don't mind sharing with the group, that we can ask our heart about that issue. This is a shorter version. This version is online, it's free, it's also an app. You can just open up the app or go online and you can ask the issue right there. And then your heart will show you the number that you need to take you through this very short process of showing you the issue, the negative mental state, what is the emotion that's driving it, and what is the positive message I need from my heart. And then also has a quantum healing code in it that matches the frequency of the positive so we can move into the vibration of that higher energy state. Oh, wow. And your name again, I'm sorry. Anne. Anne. So Anne, what is your issue for today?
Issue for today? Well, it's physical, because I was an emotional aspect to that.
Rheumatoid arthritis, okay.
Louder.
Rheumatoid arthritis. I have to speak up because it's a tough crowd. And so, trusting in your heart, ask your heart to show you number 1 through 7. And 7 is taking us right into the solar plexus. Okay. And what we need, so the solar plexus is small intestine, stomach, liver, gallbladder. And let's ask your heart for the negative mind brain belief, 1 through 17. Yeah. 14. I feel cheated out of a sense of well-being. So are you in a state of well-being? Is there an issue that is causing you a certain amount of discomfort? I mean, other than, arthritis is discomfort. Okay, and so why does your brain feel like you're cheated out of a sense of well-being?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that I am always a busy person.
Okay.
Do this, do that, going. It's always constant movement in my life. And suddenly there is something that is now holding me back from that. So there's that sense that I feel cheated.
So were you able to hear that she's a constant doer, constant action? Solar plexus is about fire, it's about doing, it's about action. But then the arthritis is slowing her down. Okay? And so maybe that's a good thing. Maybe slowing down is a good thing. Maybe it's not a good thing. We're not really sure what the emotion was because we asked her 1 through 6 and we heard 6, but the number was 3. And so that's where I trust synchronicity and I say, well, you know, it happened that way, let's take it.
Let's take 6. What was 6?
Well, we don't know because we can't go back.
Oh.
Yeah.
6 was worry.
Well, yeah, 6 was worry, but we don't know what 3 was.
Okay.
Because you picked 3 and we gave you 6.
If you went with 6, I could see worry.
Yeah, okay, so that's my question. Can you see worry?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and
because where is this going? I'm not taking any conventional medicine for it.
Okay.
And my doctors keep saying, if you don't, this is going to happen. If you don't, this is going to happen. And I keep trusting my heart saying, don't take anything. There's too many side effects.
Okay, all right.
But I do worry about, are they right? Yes,
Right. Okay. Well, and so worry, you're doing things constantly because are you worried that you have to get things done?
It's just my energy. I've always been
Okay.
I'll be the one to take care of it if nobody else takes care of it.
Okay. So you have to carry the burden of the world on your shoulders.
Yes,
So if you were a naturopath, you would look at rheumatoid arthritis as being an issue of toxins.
yes.
And that would be something that the liver should be doing something about. And so we're in the element of the liver. So it's kind of appropriate in that way. And if we were doing the longer version, I apologize that we couldn't, because I actually wanted to show you the longer version. In the longer version, we actually get to the organ level. So we could have asked the organ more specifically what's behind the worry. You know, it would have been interesting if we got liver, but now we won't know. So I'm throwing it out there as a suspicion. Okay. And so what we want to find out from the heart, what is the opposite of worry? So we're so worried that if I don't do it, you know, the world will collapse. That I'm not allowing another vibration. And then some unconscious level, it's that vibration that you really want. Does that make sense?
But for right now, I used to have that worry, but I've worked through a lot of things.
Okay.
But the worry that I have now is, are the doctors right? Should I take the meds, otherwise I'll be,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, but you're still wanting to do.
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay, so maybe there's still worry there.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So 1 through 44.
Okay. 23.
23. So you want to, what the heart is asking you to do is convert worry into creativity, to be creative. Do you see that as being different?
Makes sense.
How does that make sense?
It makes sense because I have been feeling that push towards
You've been
more
feeling,
creativity, yes.
okay, so she's been feeling the push towards more creativity, and the heart is supporting that, saying yes, the way to switch out worry is to embrace creativity, right?
Yes.
And if you're creative, that's like a totally different energy. It's outflowing, it's big, it's expansive. Right? It's still solar plexus, but it's a different solar plexus energy, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And so what would your life be like if you had that? If you
More
stepped into that?
into the creativity.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Everything would flow.
Everything would flow, the liver would flow, the toxin would flow out. I wouldn't have all the blockages in the fingers. You wouldn't have to worry if the doctors were right or wrong, because you would be creating.
But the things I want to do creatively, I think I also worry about, am I going to be judged by my family?
Okay, so now we come back into the negative mind belief that always holds us back, that says, well, if I'm creative, now I'm going to just open myself to judgment and criticism. Right? And so let's see what the positive heart message is, 1 through 6. I trust my heart's innate intelligence to nurture and take care of me. So we've got the nurturing and the taking care of again. Did you hear me that time? Well, can you read that part? I know there's a lot of traffic out there. So we're coming back to nurturing and innate intelligence, right? And being taken care of through heart consciousness. It's that trusting. And so if you could create from that place, what would that be like?
Listening to my heart and really just going with
Yeah.
as far as the action,
Yeah.
with what I'd be doing right now.
Right.
I would stand up here and sing.
Okay. And so the question is, could she stand up here and sing and be creative from the heart
Yes.
without even worrying about what other people thought of her? Right?
I bought a karaoke machine recently.
Okay. Did you hear that? We're trying to project at the back of the room.
Repeat what you said.
I'm trying to. She wanted to buy a
She just bought.
karaoke machine.
Karaoke.
Karaoke machine.
But I use it behind closed doors.
All right, so she's using it behind closed doors. So what we want her to do is perhaps, in the longer version we have a follow-up action, and the follow-up action for her is probably to sing to us before she leaves.
We can open the doors.
She can open the doors and she could sing. Let's find the quantum healing code 1 through 7. 7. And 7 is 741, which is the brow chakra, right? So can you sing through the brow chakra?
Well, now I will try.
Now you will try.
Yes.
Can you stand up for us, and we're going to listen to this tone, but I would like you to sing the tone to us.
Try to tone it.
Yeah.
Talk about being put on the spot.
Yeah, I know. That's
No, we'll help you. We'll help
We'll
you.
help
Boy.
stage.
Yeah.
And
I need
stage.
some musicians behind me.
Okay, can we all?
We'll
can we
all tone with you.
We'll all tone
We'll
together.
all tone. Okay?
Okay.
It's a very hard.
surprises us. Are there any questions, observations? What a great group. Yes?
How do you know that you're answering from the heart and not the head? What is the first thing that tells you you're coming from the head?
In terms of the number that you pick?
Yes, as simple as that.
Yeah. And so that is a very common question. It's like, how do I know the number's not coming from my head instead of my heart? There's two parts to that. First of all, it's our intention that we are asking our heart to show us the number. And I think that is a huge step. Some people have never introduced themselves to their own heart, let alone ask the heart to show them something. So that's a big step. The crux of it is, Carl Jung, when he talked about the I Ching, that's like, flipping coins in the air. And he said that I Ching operate on the same principle of synchronicity. And so, well, he's a scientist, he needs to be objective, and that's just like, mumbo jumbo stuff, right? So his answer to that was that the response is what tells you it came from the heart. When you flip the coins and the I Ching gives you the answer that is exactly what you intuitively know you needed to hear, or it's so germane to the issue, then suddenly you walk into the field of trust. And I think we saw today that the numbers that the heart was giving us were so right on to what their issue was, and was so benevolent and helpful, that our mind starts to go, wow, it's like really works. And then the mind just trusts, the mind just steps out of it. And so when you're doing the session, sometimes after you've done it a while, you do the session and you don't even think about your mind anymore. It's just totally a dialogue between you and your heart. So it takes, it's the experience. That's why I wanted you to have the experience. Because if I just talk about it, then it's just all mental. And so hopefully by seeing other people interact with it, we see that there is an innate knowing that does work with us and through us. Thank you. Great question. Well, thank you all for coming. I'll be here for a while. I'll be happy to answer any personal questions that you might have. And thank you for coming and being such a great group.